Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all. And in this video, we're going to be diving into the GWC 2023 KR2. Now, the KR2, which is what I'm going to refer to it as for the rest of the video, is already available on, I believe, just about all consoles, although Switch users will have to double check on their mod browser to make sure. Now, this is based on a build for the SEMA show that was done by a shop called Flat Out Autos in Arkansas. Now, the creator of this mod, Glitchworks, actually worked back and forth with Flat Out Autos, or I should say the people at Flat Out Autos, to help bring this mod to life, including the actual, and this is so incredible, this is so freaking cool. So, the actual sound file for this truck in game is the actual sound that Flat Out Autos recorded from the real world KR2. The 3D file of the custom KR2 emblem was even provided to Glitchworks by Flat Out Autos themselves, which is so incredibly cool, and the level of just attention to detail is really, really high. So with all of that being said, what is this thing like to customize? Well, it's got some interesting features for sure. However, the engines and the transmission options are pretty standard if you're used to Glitchworks' mods. For the transmissions, you've obviously got your highway setup, your middle of the road setup, and then of course your 4-speed off-road setup. Now, again, you're not going to find anything super revolutionary here with these transmission options, but they're also really good. So it's not like you're losing out on anything by not having any super, creative or super over the top transmission options. The transmission options in this thing are simple, to the point, and they work really well with the truck. And of course, if you have Glitchworks' wheel and tire pack, you will get basically full access to the entire Glitchworks wheel and tire library. Now, one thing also to note about the wheels and tires, though, is that you can use this mod with vanilla wheels and tires if the RAM usage of the mod is a concern for you. Like, for example, if you're on a previous gen console, that might be a bit of a concern for you, especially if you're trying to get this truck to run simultaneously with other trucks as well. It also, of course, comes with a fairly standard selection of colors, although there's not necessarily any of them in there that I would say this truck doesn't look good in. So it's literally entirely up to you, depending on what color setup you want to choose. Now, one thing that I should point out about this truck is that I know that some of y'all might think it looks a little bit odd or maybe a little bit awkward due to the stubbiness of the truck's frame, and it's actually, or like maybe if you're not used to seeing a modern Chevy body on a frame this stubby. So honestly, I was kind of in the same boat, and then I drove it, and then I realized that it's actually a really good length for a lot of the trails that you're going to run into on maps like this, which is Rockingham, and then of course also maps like TNB Trails. Although we didn't necessarily do anything super over the top or even anything that I would call all that extreme, of course, air quotes there, because obviously anything being quote unquote extreme is relative. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people don't even use that. They don't even use the word extreme to describe anything anymore, because so many people have used it for so many different things that it's kind of lost its meaning now. But honestly, whether or not anything that we've done up to this point is quote unquote extreme, I mean, I'm going to leave all of that literally up to y'all to decide, because almost everything that you might do in SnowRunner, minus, I don't know, falling off a cliff, looks pretty tame in comparison to the real world. I mean, literally a section like what we're on in SnowRunner right now, this would be honestly like a little terrifying in the real world. So, but it doesn't look scary at all in SnowRunner because it's SnowRunner. Also, can y'all tell that it's kind of frustrating to convey the meaning of what you're trying to say in a video sometimes, because you know that no matter how you convey it, someone is always going to hit back with, well, actually, you didn't explain that correctly, or, well, actually, that's not correct, or, well, actually, that's not extreme at all, because that's what my driveway looks like. But in all honesty, if your driveway looks like this, you probably have a little bit of work you need to do on said driveway. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go and tell you to work on your driveway. That's between you and your driveway. I have nothing to do with that back and forth. But after going off on a random tangent about driveways, ask me how that happened. But no, seriously, after going off on a random tangent about driveways, what I really wanted to say at the end of all of that, all over the place, whatever you want to call it, is that this is actually a really fun truck to drive. And it's actually one that I also recommend having in your garage, especially like if you have the space for it. Because if you have the space for it, you might as well give it a try. I don't think necessarily that it's going to be a all-out replacement for a lot of the trucks that you may be used to using. Although I don't think it's a bad one to have either. And if you have the hard drive space to spare, then I would definitely recommend giving it a try, picking it up, giving it a go. If you don't like it, you can just delete it. And actually, on that note, I think that's actually something I also want to talk about, because I see a lot of people in my comments sometimes, especially on, SnowRunner console mod related videos, that'll say things like, well, I want to download more mods, but my RAM is maxed out or my storage is maxed out and I can't download any more. And I'm like, you can rotate mods. I get if you have mods that you don't want to lose. I get if you have mods that you maybe really like using, but if you, let's say you uninstall a couple of mods so you can try some other ones and then you don't like them, you can still re-download the ones you had before. And I don't know exactly why so many people seem to think that that's not, not possible or something. It's very possible. I mean, people do it all the time. Although again, I get if you have mods you don't want to lose, but it's worth rotating out your mod inventory from time to time, because that's the only way you're going to find other things that you may or may not like. However, on a simpler note, it also does cartwheels, so that counts for something, I guess. I don't know if that counts for something or not. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I mean, someone in the comments will probably say that they did a better cartwheel in their truck anyway, so I don't know. We'll move on from there and let the cartwheel just have its day. So we'll just move on from there and let that be that. One thing that I do want to talk about though with this truck is that you do have to be, even though it is a shorter wheelbase truck, you do have to be, I guess I would say, aware of the fact that you do still have some pretty gnarly front and back overhangs. The one in the back in particular is especially large. You just gotta always be thinking about it and always be thinking about the fact that it can and often does get caught on various elements of the environment because, well, let's just say the environment in SnowRunner is always willing to just reach out and grab you and tell you that you're not going anywhere, you're staying right here. Which honestly, that's pretty easily fixed by just backing up and taking a different line. However, you would be really surprised how many people will just realize that a line over an obstacle isn't working and they'll just keep backing up and banging into the obstacle and then backing up again and then banging into the obstacle again. And I'm like, after the fourth or fifth time, you start to scratch your head and think to yourself, you do know that there's other line choices available here, right? Of course, to which some people might back up and try a different line, and then other people might say nonsense and back up and just bang into the obstacle again. So it all comes down to what you're trying to do, who you're wheeling with, and it really, it's just entirely up to you how you want to get over an obstacle. I just find it funny that, you could tell somebody that they're going to catch their bumper or they're going to smash into a rock and they'll just be like, okay. And then they'll just tear their bumper off and that'll be that. Now, since we're back at the garage, I figured this would be as good of a time as any to swap out for the 6-speed highway transmission just to kind of see how it drove, how it felt, and give it a little bit of a rip on this back road back here, kind of behind the garage, because it's got some nice flowy sections, it's got some nice banked corners, and I figured it would be a decent place to take this thing for a rip. And while it does do pretty well at high speeds, it kind of you can tell it was intended more for like scouting around and trail riding, not necessarily full-on rock crawling, but it's good at this kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily the focus of this thing, and I just wouldn't go into it imagining that it will be a race truck. Because as long as you go into it knowing that it isn't a race truck, you're going to be fine. But if y'all enjoyed this video and, of course, this look at this actually genuinely incredible truck, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see y'all next time.